Hello everyone, hello everyone, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Quantum Carnival on Mysticalista TV. I'm Calista, and this podcast is where I document my experiments in reality creation. The first episode of this podcast described the holofractographic unified field theory. Everything, no matter how big or small, is a holographic fractal that is either a microcosm or a macrocosm of itself or of any other part of the unified field. So your internal world is a reflection of the external world, and one tiny cell of your body is a microcosm of the whole entire universe. So in any given moment, we want to be adjusting our perspective and our consciousness to be aware of kind of the right order of magnitude. Are we zoomed out or zoomed in enough to maximize BROEI? You always want to be maximizing BROEI, an acronym I made up. BROEI, benefit return on energy investment. So all of this is kind of rooted in the belief that you have a certain desired outcome. To obtain that would be a benefit. We all have certain God-given desires. So desire, intuitive resonance, and attraction is very holy and very sacred. You're so unique at your core. The way you desire to express is the purpose to your life, I would argue. That is you playing your part in this grand harmonic symphony of divine coherence. Having things that we desire to experience and having a gift that we want to offer the world, truly expressing ourselves in the flow of our divine truth. These things are so regenerative and expansive and elevating. We are wanting to maximize that, right? Maximize the benefit return on the energy investment by achieving that benefit with the most efficient investment of your energy possible, because then you can go on to benefit in other areas. Considering time as a fourth dimensional construct, it's not really about time scarcity and wasting your time and how bad it is to not be benefiting. It's about expanding our presence in that divine state of truth and expression. To that end, you can maximize your benefit return on your energy investment by optimizing for potency. Our awareness is the cheat code for that, because when we know the most potent use of our energy, we can direct our energy there with our intention. So to increase our awareness, we practice neutral observation. Life is happening all around us and the world is giving us data. The now moment, being present in the purity of the now, is such pure truth and such good information. But when we attach a mental narrative and are lost in our head running these stories about all of the perceptual data that we receive, and we start to put our awareness on those mental stories and loops, holding those narratives in our awareness, that is not as good of information because it is distorted. So this kind of Zen Buddhist practice of observing the thoughts, observing experience without labeling it, without judging it as good, bad, or what's this, what's that. Try and hear a sound as just a sound, not what you know made that sound because it sounds so familiar. This is where we find another skill that we can develop in itself, this skill of neutral observation, because we have a tendency to label, categorize, judge our thoughts and our experiences according to narratives. And that's a helpful and natural function of our human consciousness to organize so much information. But we need to be so careful because our mental narratives can be so distorted, and that can hold us back so much from developing true awareness, which allows us to direct our energy as potently as possible to maximize the benefit return on our energy investment. So to practice this skill of neutral observation, we clear distortion via shadow work. I mentioned in the previous episode Regg's Law. Anything you judge is a reflection of your shadow, which is something that you're not willing to see about yourself. There's this idea that everything is neutral, and then we ascribe the values of good, bad, because in the grand scheme of things, the whole expanse of time and the universe, it is such a big picture, and everything is so intricately woven that it's hard to say on such a grand scale what is good and bad. Like, is it bad that the dinosaurs went extinct because, like, death and destruction, but then we likely would not have existed if that hadn't happened, and that would be sad. See, all of these are so like subjective, human, emotional ways of looking at things, kind of like personifying the whole universe based on what I want and what I don't want is what's good and bad. But there can be these cultural dialectics and narratives that scaffold our perception of certain things in ways that can also be very distorted. So it's this practice of empowering ourselves by viewing things in a neutral awareness, because when we don't, we can be a slave to our emotions in a way where we have an attachment to a certain outcome because of this labeling and judging of good and bad, right, wrong. So we have the attachment to the good, right outcome. Consciously, we take actions moving toward that outcome, but not all of our actions are conscious, and in fact 95% of our actions are driven by the subconscious, and the subconscious really just wants to stay comfortable, stay the same, keep us safe. It wants to do what's safe. That's ironic because change is the only constant. Life is change. That's what's happening. That is everything that is going on. We want to embrace it. We want to get our subconscious on board. So if you're attached to this labeled good, right outcome, you are taking the actions from your conscious mind to achieve that. And then you have an experience, because this life experience is very unpredictable. We can all admit there is some unknown element at play, right? Where events can take us by surprise. That can really throw us off course when we are consciously pursuing the good, right outcome, and then an unpredicted event happens that is bad, wrong. We can be so one-track minded where everything is reduced to our dissatisfaction with the moment. Because of our interpretation of the event as bad, wrong compared to the good, right outcome, we have a really hard time emotionally accepting the circumstance. And that state of rejection of the truth, the emotional rejection of the truth, is never going to be really maximizing your BROEI. And never's a very strong word. It actually probably in a few cases would be. But you want to be able to know and choose where to direct your energy, because even if you're not at the whim to your emotions and your emotional responses, that doesn't mean that you don't have them and don't feel them and can't feel them and shouldn't feel them. In my experience, the more empowered I am and the more sovereignty I've cultivated over my emotional reactions, the more value and the more depth I've found in my relationship to my emotional experience. When we have that experience of the good, right outcome, desired outcome, and then the bad, wrong contrast, and we're in that state of judgment and rejection towards the truth in the moment, that is where Reg's law comes into play. Our reality is reflecting our shadow back to us, something that we're not willing to see about ourselves. If there is an element of self that we're not seeing clearly, then that is limiting the clarity with which we can see any and everything else in our experience. So if there is an aspect of self in our shadow that we're not willing to see, it distorts our whole perspective of the truth. It's a limiter on our awareness. So those moments when we would prefer otherwise to the truth of what we're experiencing, and we feel resistance to it, it is the perfect time to keep in mind Reg's law. I went into this in the previous video, but what is bad and wrong about this situation not being bad and wrong? Why does this have to be bad and wrong? Because the truth is, it doesn't. We put all of our experiences in these categories, and so that's why it's such an interesting experience when we make ourselves the victim to our reality. We just want to be aware of that, because that is a distortion. That's also going to be the limiting factor on how potently we can use our energy, and then how much we can benefit, which may very well equate to that original desired outcome that was so good, right? Not necessarily in an objective sense, but it could very well be, or possibly not be, but it could very well be something that is very true to your soul's calling, something that is a part of your destiny. And that's why you feel such a longing, right, towards that. But when you open up your awareness by clearing the distortion of the judgment, of the obstacles, you have more energy at your disposal to direct your energy in a more potent way towards that desired outcome. So practicing neutral observation by clearing distortion via shadow work, it's a valuable skill. This ties into another highly valuable skill, if not, I think the most valuable, mental reframing optimized for self-empowerment. Any situation or circumstance, how can you label and categorize that in a way that empowers you? Prioritize cultivating the mindset skills to see everything to your own advantage. That is going to have a super, super high ROI, right? Benefit return on energy investment. Investing that energy into cultivating the mental resilience of empowering yourself no matter the circumstance is always going to aid you, because change is the only constant. You can maximize your benefit by potently directing your energy. You can best do that when you have cleared any distortion of limitation. You are limitless. Life is like this rhythmic dance, right? Creation is like this rhythmic dance, the inhale, the exhale, the heartbeats, the gaps between creation and destruction. When we say change is the only constant, it's this constant cycle and dance of these polarities, the yin and the yang. So we kind of want to empower ourselves through our perspective to surf the wave in the most beneficial way. So we want to cultivate our awareness, no judgment, observe the self, become an expert in the self, and ride these waves where you release distortion to make way for new clarity, and you're always responsive to the ever-changing moment, aware of the relativity of the context, shedding what's appropriate for that context based on your awareness, your non-distorted awareness that you have cultivated to empower yourself to direct your energy as potently as possible, to tap into and express the divine energies that you came here to tap into and to express as part of our collective divine 5D New Earth mission as an Earth Angel collective. Practice this neutral observation of self. Learn about your universe through learning about and observing yourself. Become familiar with your intuitive resonance, your desire, and treat that as prescriptive. That question of what should I be doing? It's a feeling that comes from inside. So get familiar with following that call and that pull, however that feels for you. All you have is this moment. This moment is so unique. Cultivate your awareness of this moment so you can gather neutral data of truth by clearing the distortion in your experience, right? So just tying it all together to wrap this up. Change is the only constant. There is a rhythm, a divine rhythm and flow that we are all participating in. It's bigger than us and it's beyond us, but at the same time, it's a part of us, and it's our purpose to cultivate this intentional dance with life so we can co-create our soul's expression to its highest divine potential. And how we do that is by realizing every moment is unique. Everything is relative. The form of the moment will always follow the function of you responding harmonically through your own vibration and intuitive resonance to this co-creative source, God, collective reality, frequency in the moment, and just cultivate your awareness to respond accordingly, whether it's a moment for release or for building or stillness. When you can kind of catch the wave and the rhythm of that, that is how you are maximizing this benefit return on your energy investment, because you're so effortlessly harmonized with the truth through your pure neutral awareness that it becomes an organic, regenerative, effortless expression through you as you, which I encourage. If anyone out there resonated with this or it gave you some insight or perspective, that's awesome. I would love to connect. Let me know what you thought. I'll be coming back soon with another podcast or ASMR or something like that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of Mysticalista TV. And until next time, be blessed.